Good morning. I feel so fresh and new. Like, it's hard to describe, but my sinuses exploded yesterday on the flights back, or the night before I did a red eye, Monday night after training. And then Tuesday morning arrived in O'Hare and then there to my home, and my sinuses did this weird explosion thing. Sometimes that happens on the descent of the long flight, and they're just now resetting. And then along with all the trauma work we did on each other through this training, my whole system is recalibrating, so you can feel it when it has. It's just like finding a new normal. And here I am trying to show up for work for my first client after a week of no work. So it's like whoosh, I feel very at peace and calm. Maybe a little too much. The sinus is still feeling a little sensitive. But I didn't come on here to talk about my sinus woes. My client's coming soon, so I thought, well, instead of a big long journal thing, which I tried to do, and then I'm like, yeah, I didn't even post it yesterday. It was like an hour long and just like so meandering. So I'm like, yeah, whatever. I just decided I didn't want to post it. So, but I came on here today because I was thinking about this book I read called Bromantasy. I think I showed you a cover of it in one of the videos the other day. Well, I finished that on the travels home, and it was just such a delightful book. Just so much joy and humor and sweetness, and it's a love story, and it's got all the elements. It's got everything. And one thing I really, really appreciated, like it stood out, was how she built her character arcs. Like, I love that. Like, every character had an arc. Like, even minor, like secondary characters. So the main characters definitely had arcs. And then she even gave the lesser characters, like, arcs. And I love that. One of the ones that I love when people do this in a story, and it relates to just how I feel about humanity and how our shadow whispers to us and says, hey, this is something to inquire about, is how a character in a story will, like in her story, Bromantasy, that one of the main characters had this, like, against another character. Like, they were always getting in brawls, but, like, they always ended, like, with the characters still not liking each other, but, like, then they would get in a brawl again. So it was just the thing they did because they didn't really care for each other's these personality quirks. Like the things that just rub you the wrong way. Well, in this story, there was a lot of friendly brawling. It's a fantasy book. It's not like supposed to represent real life exactly. But instead of just like avoiding each other like you do in real life or talking shit behind each other's back, whatever, they would just get in brawls, punch it out for a while, and then go on their way. So anyway, what I loved about the way she developed this one of the main characters and how he felt about his brawling partner that just always pushed his buttons was, you could tell she wasn't saying it overtly, but she was showing how the things in that lesser character that would bother the main character are the exact same elements of his story arc that he was trying to let go, get past, and like those were the things in his way of like becoming his fuller self. And I just love that so much because in real life now, it's been a long road, but I'm trying to more and more, like those things that like if I'm in an interaction, especially with like I guess people I don't know that well, and something kind of feels like it just sort of does that, where it like sometimes like that is probably what would make me not want to hang out with that person like all the time, that sort of thing. Like eh, like something that just makes me want to keep my distance a little bit, and that's how it shows up for me, is like not widening my sphere to include them as a possible friendship sort of thing. Like, yeah, we're good in small doses, that. I'm sure you can relate to that feeling. I'm trying to describe it because it shows up very subtle like that. Like, oh, we're totally friendly. And then, then there's this like, and this is good enough, you know, enough, small doses. They're like, whenever I feel that, it usually points to that very thing, like the thing inside of me that's whispering, "Hey, what put up the no, the red flag, or the trigger, or the button pushing, is the very thing in myself that I don't like." And we know that. We could call it mirroring, like we're mirrors for each other. Like when we trigger each other, it's like it's never about the other person, is it? It's like, okay, let's go inside. Thank you for helping me identify that thing, unintentionally. And so she did a lot of that with the main and lesser characters, is like she used those lesser characters as mirrors to the main character, but not in that overt way. It's just, you could tell those were the things that main character needed to overcome within themselves. And then when they did, at the end, it's almost like they were in the same level of friendship with the lesser characters that they once had that feeling about. And the lesser character didn't change that within themselves. That's the thing that was fascinating. It's like they were still the same way, but the main character no longer bothered them, and they included them in their sphere of friendship. So I just love that so much, and I think that's the only thing I wanted to come. I'm going to not make it too cold in here. I haven't been here for a week, so I have to like reset the temp. So yeah, I just wanted to come on and say that's what I appreciate about that book, and then also how that's just so true in everyday life. And I'm constantly being reminded of that through this, self-inquiry process, personal growth, whatever you want to call it, is like the things that make me go in relation with others, it's never about the other person. It's never, 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 never. And then when I am able to like integrate that piece of me within myself, I don't feel that anymore in the presence of the other person. It's just, I love it so much. And it's like, oh yeah, it was never about them, So I'm curious if you resonate with that, like if you see that show up in your life, or if you hadn't thought about it yet, like are there relationships in your life where you're like, I wonder what that is that makes me like say, yeah, you're good in small doses. Like us together, we're good in small doses. And then you bring it back to the self, like I'm okay as long as we're in small doses. And then like, what's that pointing to inside? Let me know if you find anything. Bye.